Hello, Merry Christmas, and welcome back to A Second Chance. My name is Philip Jones.
And I'm Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease.
I'm sorry, this is the wrong one.
What's the wrong one?
It was the wrong slide. That's the right slide. I look at I'm like, diabetes. Why that don't sound right? All right. We're good now. We're back. So today, basically what the title says here is how to read and manage your labs. This is something that's very important, not necessarily just for kidney disease or dialysis patients or transplant patients, but people in general, because everybody goes to do lab work, right? So you need to know how to read these things. So if you get something, sometimes your doctors go on vacation, right? They don't necessarily check these things when they're on vacation or anything like that. But if you can check it, before they come back and can say, hey, this doesn't look right and address it. You never know, it can save your life. So these are some important things, some important labs you need to know how to read, what the ranges should be. If you're watching and you have a question about a specific one, it's so many years of experience between the two of us within, being kidney patients. I'm pretty sure we have an answer or can send you to somebody with an answer for that. So definitely drop some comments in the comment section below. Ask any questions you may have. Please like and subscribe, please. We'd appreciate it. So to start off with the first one is your antibody titers. I'm gonna let Mr. Cook start off on this one because this is his area of kind of expert.
Right. And like you said, like or subscribe. We're doing a lot of work here. And all you got to do is just push that button, push that like or push that subscribe. All right. That's all you got to, that's all we ask for. It's free. So come on, like or subscribe. All right. Antibody titers. So this is really, really critical for me. And but I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna tell you my personal story with the antibodies. The antibody titer is a test that detects the presence and measures the amount of antibodies within the person's blood. The amount and diversity of the antibodies correlates to the strength of the body's immune system, immune response. So, what that means is if you have high antibodies, that's a good thing for a person who does not have a kidney transplant. That's perfect for them. That means their immune response will, as soon as it sees some foreign object, it will jump to attention like, it'll start battling and will prevent that person from getting sick. And that is a great thing. But if you're a transplant recipient like myself, those high titers can be critical. Why? Because if you put a foreign object in your body like a kidney, those high titers are going to attack that thing because it's a foreign object also. So that's what I experienced when I was at Johns Hopkins and I had to get over 50 treatments of plasmapheresis. My body had high titers and it was healthy when I was on dialysis. And that was helping me when I was on dialysis. I never really got sick or anything because of those high titers. But they knew as soon as they put a kidney in me, those high titers would react and start going after that kidney, trying to prevent it to work. And they would make that kidney reject. So what they had to do was do all the plasmapheresis and find me. Sorry. Oh, I thought you said something.
No, I'm here.
Okay. And so what they had to do is find me an absolutely correct kidney transplant that will be perfect for my titers and also do plasmapheresis. And that's why I did so many treatments because I had those high antibody titers. Now, some people can get second transplants or 3 transplants and those things do not affect them. Their body does not build up that high immune response. Some people don't. And I was the one who didn't. That's why, again, I had to do all those treatments.
So, let me ask you this question pertaining to this because I'm getting to come around the curve. You've already come down and passed. How early did they test you for your titers? Like, was this once you got put on the list, was it before? Where exactly did they start?
They knew immediately. They knew immediately that I had high titers while I first started dialysis. And like again, I was on dialysis close to over a decade, I just say. And they knew immediately. They knew I had high titers, and that was one of the reasons why I had to take so long to get a transplant because they had to find the right one for me. Even though I was on the list and I was compliant with all my records and everything for the whole time I was on dialysis, but they knew I had these high antibodies, and they knew that for order for me to get a kidney, they were going to have to find the exact right one, and I was going to have to do all these treatments. And those treatments are plasmapheresis, and it's okay when people, and the majority of people do 3 or 4 treatments of plasmapheresis. I did, like I said, over 50, and it was a lot. And what it does, what their objection is when they do these pheresis is they want to bring the titers all the way down to like a 16, and I had over 4,000 of them. So that was a lot of treatments. You're going through a lot of treatments to bring them down. They want to bring it all the way down, slip the kidney in with the titers being low, and then build up your immune system with that new kidney. And that was the ultimate goal, what they were trying to do. But what happened was my titers kept on bouncing back up. But eventually they figured it out and found me a perfect match kidney for me. So that's what happens. That's what those titers do. They will affect any response. But with you, apparently they would already know. They would already know. They would already have told you. You would already have know what was going on. But again, they haven't said nothing to you about that. So apparently your body's not building up these high antibodies.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm.
I'll tell you somebody.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'll tell you somebody who does have high titers right now, and they're waiting for a kidney, and that's Alex Barrows. He and I talked about this, and he
Mhm.
has a high immune response with his titers, so it might be a little challenging for him to get the transplant.
Yeah, I have to definitely look into that. 'Cause, I just did my blood work for pre workup a couple
Right.
weeks ago. So um,
Jared asked a question. Jared said, "Is this similar to PRA, panel reactive antibodies?" I'm not sure, but I'll find that out for you. But I do know with this ABT is, like I said, this response with this antibody will attack the kidneys immediately, soon as it sees anything foreign in the body. And again, with me being on dialysis, I was always good. Never caught cold to any of those things because of those high antibodies I had in my body. But the opposite would happen if they gave me a kidney and I didn't have to do, if I didn't do plasmapheresis, those antibodies, those titers would attack my kidney. So again, Jared, I don't know about the panel reactive antibodies. I'll find that out though. Thank you for the question.
okay. So the second slide, albumin. So when you see those 3 letters ALB, that is your albumin. The normal range for albumin is 3.4 to 5.4. This test measures the amount of protein albumin in your
Mhm.
blood. Your liver makes albumin. Albumin also carries substances such as hormones, medicines, and enzymes throughout your body. This test can help diagnose, evaluate, and watch kidney and liver conditions. When your kidneys start to fail, albumin starts to leak into your urine. This causes a low albumin level in your blood. So that's something very important to know, along with uh, you know, when you're seeing protein and things like that come up when they notice that you're going into kidney rejection.
Mhm.
So that's another thing you need to look at when you're doing lab work. Make sure you look at this albumin and make sure that you're in the range that you need to be in. If it's low, then you know that it's leaking somewhere. We gotta, you need to get it checked out and go consult your physician. This all this stuff goes back into being proactive and a self advocate for your health. You have to know this stuff so that way you can also be somebody that says, "Hey, red flag. we need to check something out, change something, add some, do something, to get me back on the good side with my health. So um definitely make sure you start paying attention to these things, because most of the ones that we're going through today will have some kind of connection to each other at some point somewhere. So it's good to kind of know what these are, so while you're reading your own labs what you need to be definitely paying attention for.
Exactly. So albumin, it's a form of protein, okay? And that was the first thing my sign was when I was playing college ball and I started getting sick. The first thing they started noticing was I had protein in my urine. So the normal person might have about zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 grams of protein in their urine, which is normal. I was having 22 grams of protein leaking out of my kidneys. And that let them know right there that my kidneys, the nephrons in the kidneys and the glomerulus were damaged and they were leaking the protein and not keeping it in my body. One of the ways you can tell is when you urine, if you see a lot of foamy, if you see a lot of bubbles and stuff in your urine, that's a way you can tell something's not right also. And that's what I seen as well. I seen that and I was like, okay, something's not right. So once I started learning about these things, that's when it came critical. So albumin is very important, and how you keep your albumin up is by eating good healthy forms of protein. It doesn't have to be meat proteins, but it could be beans, it could be all types of other forms of protein. You don't have to have just meat proteins, but you do want to keep your protein up to keep the albumin up. All right. And if you see it leaking out your kidneys, one of the first signs is when you urinate, you'll see the urine being foamy. And that'll be one sign right there that you can tell something's not going right. And you might want to see a nephrologist after that. Okay. Alkaline phosphate. Now, phosphate has a lot to do with your phosphorus also. So, the normal range of alkaline phosphate in the blood is 20 to 140s, okay, units to liter. Although this can vary from lab to lab, some labs set the range to 30 to 130, 30 to 130. And this is true because at different dialysis centers, they might
Sorry.
Oh, okay. At different dialysis centers, they might say 20 to 140. We like that. Other centers or doctors might say 30 to 130. And it depends, but they always want it in that range. Alkaline phosphate is an enzyme found in all tissues in the human body, but it's mostly concentrated in the bones, kidneys, liver, intestines, and the placenta. It exits in different forms depending on where it originates from, right? So that's, like I said, this correlates a lot with the phosphorus. So you definitely want to watch your phosphorus and watch your alkaline phosphate, okay? Because these things can cause damage to the bones also, even though they do build bones, but it can cause damage as well.
Yeah, I honestly don't think specifically about alkaline phosphate. I'm more of a just kind of where we'll get to phosphorus one of the later slides down the line. So I'll refer back to it when we get there.
Mhm.
BUN, blood urea nitrogen. Results of the BUN test are measured in milligrams per deciliter in the United States and in millimoles per liter internationally. In general, around 6 to 24, which is 2.1 to 8.5 um, millimoles is considered normal.
Mhm.
A common blood test, the blood urine nitrogen BUN test, reveals important information about how well your kidneys are working. A BUN test measures the amount of urine nitrogen that's in your blood. So another one that you need to pay attention to when it comes to the functions of your kidneys. This is another test that will tell you, that there's something wrong. It may not be something major, but it's a step to be able to say, hey, let's look into this, let's take care of it, and let's get back on the healthy side. So definitely pay attention to your BUN. I know mine is because I don't have any kidneys, so I know mine is like through the roof. So definitely make sure you pay attention to these numbers. It's very important. And just because, so it says here, it says 6 to 24 or 2.1 to 8.5, when you look at it. Um, just because you says 23 does not mean don't be worried or don't look into it, because it probably shouldn't be on the higher side. You probably want it kind of somewhere still in the middle as a normal range, because just like anything else, you don't want it too low, you don't want it too high. So if you starting to see that your number, you may be a normal 10 to 12, and all of a sudden one lab test is 15, then it goes up to 20. If you start seeing that creep up like that, even though you in range, you need to be paying attention to something or talking to your physician, because it's probably something going on, and you want to make sure you catch it before it gets to the point where you are sitting on dialysis or needing to get on a transplant list or anything like that. So
Blood urea nitrogen is very important, like Phil said. A lot of times after you have a transplant, the goal is to keep it in the teens. And if it's in the teens and lower, it's always good. It's very good there. But sometimes, like I remember being on dialysis and my blood urea measurement was probably like at 96, 105, and things like that. What this is saying that I'm just gonna keep it in layman terms. This is saying that you have a high particle in your blood. That means that this is telling you that if you're at 90 something, that means the clearance your blood is getting, how good the kidney is working. The kidney is working not that good if this number is very, very high. But if this number is low, like 24 or lower, that's good. You definitely want that, especially after you get a transplant. That's the one of the key things they look at. They look at your creatinine and they look at your bun. The bun tells you right there how much clearance your blood is having. Now, what's in your blood is the particle in your blood, and what I mean by particle is the bad stuff floating around in your blood that the kidney is not filtering, and that's what this measurement does. This measurement wants to know that. So if you go to the doctor and they look at your GFR, the GFR can be different, especially with they're talking about the GFR with black people and white people. It's a different measurement. They're changing that right now. But if your blood urea measurement is 24 or lower, they're much happier with that. And that's where you want it. You want it to be the lowest. And people who have normal kidneys and both kidneys functioning good, their range might be 6 to 7. And that's even better because you want this to be the lowest it can possibly be. Now, if this sign right here starts going up higher and higher, this is definitely letting you know right here that this is not a good sign. When I first got my transplant, the first thing they did, they put all the letter, they would put my levels on the board, and they would come in and take my blood and they would look at it. And the first thing they told me was, this is the ones we want to be the main ones. And that was your creatinine and your bun. And I was like, what's bun? And then that's when the guy explained to me, he was like, we want this number low as possible. And every day when I was in the hospital, that number was creeping down, 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 and they were happy with that. Now, when this number is not creeping down and you just had a transplant, that's when they're kind of concerned. They want to know what's going on with the kidney. They want to know what's going on with the transplant. Is there something going on? And sometimes it takes a time for the kidney to react. Sometimes the kidneys are asleep, especially if they come from not a living donor. Sometimes the kidney can be asleep and they have to shock it to wake it up. And then it starts working better. But again, your blood urea nitrogen measurement tells you what clearance you're having and how the kidney is working. CBC, complete blood count. And this is what they do with you when you first go get your blood work. You might have a little challenge with your kidneys, or you might just have to go get blood work. They want to do a full CBC on you. And this is all of it. They run the full gamut on it, okay? They're looking at your red blood cells, okay? Excuse me. For cells, for men, It says 4.2 million sales. I'm just going to say what it says for me, for us. We want it in America. We want it to be 10 or higher for sure when it comes to red blood cells. We want it honestly up to 13 to 14, and that's letting you know that you got, your red blood cells are well. 4.32 is good. 5.72 is good. That's good, and that's a million cells. Females might be a little bit less, but this is letting you know how much red blood cells, how much energy your body is having. That's what that's saying. Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, you definitely want it a little bit higher. You want it to be around 13 to 10 to 13 up there. Females are going to be a little bit lower. Men, because we have, more testosterone and things, they want it to be a lot higher. And that's going to give you energy. That's the red blood cells in your body, the hemoglobin. Sometimes on dialysis, they might give you something like epogen, or they might give you another name or something. But what this does is create more red blood cells in the body. People don't recognize that when your kidneys aren't working, you can't produce any red blood cells. But when your kidneys are working, kidneys also help you produce more red blood cells. The kidney is amazing. It does a lot of things that people don't even know. It just goes unnoticed. But it also, like I said, when your kidneys are working good, your red blood cells, your hemoglobin is up a lot higher. Okay, hemocrat. That's another form of this red blood cell, another particle in it. And for males, they want it at 38.8 to 50%. Females, a little bit lower, 34.9 to 44.5. White blood cells. Now, when it comes to white blood cells, if your white blood count is high, right there, they're letting you know something's going on. That means the body is fighting something. It's trying to fight and let you know something is going on. Something's not right with everything. So they really want this number to be in 3,500 to 10.5 cells. And again, once it starts creeping up higher than that, they know that you might have a virus, you might have a flu, you might have something going on, and something might not be right. So that's when that's when the white blood kick in, because those are the fighters. They want to fight the virus. They want to fight, and so when they're up high, that's letting you know something's not going on right. Okay, all right.
Hold
Platelet
on
count.
a second, Mr. Cook, if you don't mind, you had a question
Yeah, what was the
from
question?
someone.
Okay. Hello. Do I track my numbers with the sheet log every month as CDK Warrior? You could track it every month, and I believe if you're on dialysis or if you had a kidney transplant or something like that, they will give you the reading every month to see what's going on. That's what they will do. But you don't have to really, if you're out, like if you're a normal person and you're doing good and everything, they probably give you these numbers once a year so you can make sure everything's going good. But again, if you have some challenges with your kidney or you're on dialysis, you're going to see these numbers once a month. And that's what's going to do. You're going to see these more often because they want to make sure these are in a good range. But again, if you have good kidneys, probably once a year, you get this workup and make sure you're fine.
Yeah, and if you don't, get something from your team, whether if you're on dialysis or transplant or whatever, 9 times out of 10 nowadays hospitals have a portal, so you should be able to go into the portal if you're registered on it and be able to find your labs there after you do your lab work.
Mhm.
Everything should be in your file in the portal, and then you can go through and say, okay, well, this is my lab. Okay, my labs look good, or this looks weird. Why was it this last month, but it looks like this month? And you need to
Mhm.
call. So that's actually a very very good question. It's good to kind of keep track of that stuff for sure.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so now we're talking about platelets. Now, platelets also have a lot to do with your blood and everything like that. So, the platelet count you want it to be in 150,000 to 450,000. You want to keep it in that good range. Okay, you want it in that good balance. All right. So, go ahead, Phil.
I'm sorry.
I said, go ahead. Let you
Oh,
talk.
you want me to go to the next one?
Oh, okay. I thought you might have said something to say on this.
Oh, not really. I think you pretty much hit everything
Okay.
really. Uh,
Yeah, go to the next one.
so creatinine, which can be brought up in two different ways: CR. or CREA.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it'll be a little bit more easier to understand if it has the first part of the whole word there, but always just look at the numbers as well. The numbers will kind of tell you sometimes what you're looking at, because you should know what the range is, where you should be, right? So creatinine is a breakdown product of creatine phosphate from muscle and protein metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
It is released at a constant rate by the body, depending on muscle mass. In case of acute kidney failure, any creatinine level above the referral range is dangerous, usually above 1.2 to 1.5. And you'll see a bunch of people on Facebook and stuff, and theirs will be like, oh, my creatinine jumped up to 1.8, I got to go in the hospital or something like that, right? And then they get on there like, okay, it's back down to 1.4. So definitely try to, the goal for your physicians and for yourself as well is to make sure you can, stay in that 1.2 to 1.5 range, to make sure that you're getting the full function of your kidney, whether it's the transplanted kidney or your original ones. That's where it needs to be. In this condition, creatinine level grows rapidly, and if the condition won't be reversed, can lead to quick death. So definitely, this is something like the rest of the ones that we've already looked over, and the ones that we will going forward. Pay attention to it, consistently look at it, because like you said, it can lead to a quick death if you don't catch it in time. You want to make sure
Yes.
you catch that early enough to where you can say, tell Dr. So and so, hey, creatinine's going up, or your doctor might catch and say, hey, I need you to come in. We need to do XYZ, go on dialysis, or give you some IVIG, or whatever the case may be, to put you back in the safe zone.
Shirley had a question right here. She says, I'm flipping,
Sorry.
I'm flipping, bless you, I'm flipping back and forth into my portal now as you speak. I'm a lung transplant recipient. My question would be, as transplant patients, can certain medications affect these levels? Yes, certain medications can affect these levels, especially like, let's take, for instance, your your hemoglobin. Let's just take that one in specific. If your hemoglobin is low, they might give you a shot of EPO, something like that, and this EPO can affect your level. It can make it, what it's supposed to do is make it go up higher. And certain other medications can affect these things too. That's why everybody is a customized situation when it comes to your labs and comes to your medications, because some medications can make these levels go up in a bad way or make them go down in a bad way on certain situations. That's why it's good to understand these medication, I mean labs, and understand some of the side effects of what these medications can do. That's very, very important, because like again, a lot of times people are not feeling well when they're on dialysis and their energy is low. They might get their labs and they see my hemoglobin is very, very low. And well, that's going to affect your energy. So some of these do affect different things. That's why whatever the medications you're on and whatever your situation is, whether you're a lung transplant recipient, a liver recipient, heart, all these things are totally different. And what we're doing right here is just giving you the base of things. Like, okay, when it comes to creatinine right here, again, if you're eating too much protein, you're going to have a lot of waste. And that's what protein does, is it creates a waste when you're done. And that's what the creatinine is. Creatinine is the waste particle. And when you have a lot of it, I'm not telling you don't eat protein, but when you have a spillover of protein, it creates the waste. And therefore your kidneys, your liver, or things like that have to work harder to get rid of that stuff. That's why it's imperative that you get enough protein, but you don't get too much where it starts to spill over. And the actual amount of protein you should get every day for every time you sit down and eat is no more than 25 grams of protein. Because if you get more than that, that's going to cause you to have your creatinine to go higher. Now, if you got a problem with your kidneys already, that can make your creatinine go up higher. Okay. Now, my creatinine is a naturally higher because I have more muscle mass on my body. And that's what we talked about there. Depending on your muscle mass, your creatinine is going to be a little bit elevated. And mine is. My stable number is a lot higher, not a lot higher, but higher because I do have more muscle mass and I like to lift weights. Okay. I just wanted to tell people that.
Yeah, it's like you said, these are kind of more or less the base of things for you to know, knowledge wise, because it's stuff that you have to, again, like I always say, you got to start somewhere, right? So
Yep.
you have to know these things to even understand what comes down,
Right.
further down the line.
Right.
So Pete Williams said, "Thank you. This is great info. Received my labs, but did not know how to read or understand them.
Right.
So glad we can help for sure. That's
And again, like Phil said, this is the general aspect of them. So what your situation is, you need to learn them for you, for your customized situation, what's going on with you. I can read Phil's labs, and Phil's labs are, I understand what Phil's going through, so I can understand him and read them and go, okay, I understand what your lab should say, and I can understand my labs. And when I work with my patients, I understand what's going on with them, so I can help them. I can look at their labs and understand what's going on, but their labs can look totally different from mine. And even if I'm working with a patient who is a transplant recipient, their labs should be kind of like mine, but they still could look a little different too. So again, this is all a customized situation. We're just giving you the base, like Phil said.
um,
Okay, glomerular filtration rate. Very, very important on this one. The glomerular filtration rate is your GFR, okay? This is a blood test that checks how well your kidneys are working, okay? Your kidneys have tiny filters called glomerulus in your body. These filters help remove waste and excess fluid from the blood. A GFR test estimates how much blood mass passes through these filters each minute. So when my kidneys weren't working properly, my glomerular filtration rate was very, very low, and the glomerulus in my body were damaged. And how they get damaged is by mostly inflammation, and this is what causes them to not act right. And so when that happens, that means their blood is not passing through that much. They're kind of inflamed and they're not working that good. Okay. So the normal glomerular filtration rate could range from anything from 90 to 140. And that's 90 to 140 is very good. That means you're probably a stage one kidney disease. That means that's a normal range. That's not even kidney disease. That's just a normal range of kidneys. Okay. Then it starts to progress down. The deeper you go down, the worse your filtration rate is going to be. Okay, and that's letting them know right there that the kidneys aren't functioning properly. Okay, the normal glomerular filtration rate value ranges must vary slightly from laboratory to laboratory, and that's true because three people could test you and they can all be off a little bit, but they shouldn't be off drastically. Okay, if you have one that's saying 90 and the other one saying 50, that's totally off. That's not right. Okay, that it shouldn't be like that. It is important to check with your healthcare provider about what particular test results mean. And that's what this means. And how they test it, they go on several things with this glomerular filtration rate. They go on, how much blood is passing through, how much urine output you have, what your creatinine ratio is, and they come up with all three of those. Then they do a diagnostics, and then they come up with your GFR rate. Okay, I'm just telling people. And then some people do it different. Some hospitals do it different. They might take a couple other ranges, and that's how they get theirs. And like I said, everybody's is different. But again, the higher the glomerular filtration rate is, the better the kidneys are doing. I'm just going to give you that number right there. Go ahead, Phil.
Man, it's hard to follow you sometimes. So I'm gonna go ahead and just I'm gonna just go ahead and go to the next one and not look stupid here.
Okay.
Growth hormones, a hormone that stimulates growth in animal or plant cells, especially in animals. A hormone secreted by pituitary gland. For children, 10 to 50 nanograms per milliliter, or 440 to 2200 picomoles per liter. For adult males, zero point 0.4 to 10 um, nanograms, or 18 to 44 picometers a liter. for adult females is 1 to 14 nanograms, or 44 to 616 picomoles. Mr. Cook, take it away, because I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not really.
Okay, I just want to add. Let me address Shirley Brill's question. She says, "Is there a different GFR range from various races?" Yes. Now, they're changing the GFRs now. They're trying to make it all one level, I believe, because if you're African American, it was a certain way. Like the rate, the GFR is a little different. That's what I do want to know. I forget what it was, how did it go, but it was always a little different if you're an African American. And I believe they say ours is a little bit lower. And so that's what they said. And that was the range for African Americans. And when you see kidney disease, and this is a big one, GFR just talks about just your kidney filtration rate. Um, More African Americans have more challenges with their kidneys, and that's why the levels were different. And I'll get some more information on it, but I just had information, but I'm coming up with a blank right now. But there is a difference, I believe, Shirley. Just wanted to tell you that. So, growth hormone, let's talk about this. This is your GH level, okay? This in a man, now, when you have men from, I say 19 to 35, they're at their prime in their life as far as their physical prime. Their growth hormone is going to be a lot higher. Okay, you got guys at that level, their growth hormone is real high, their testosterone is real high, they want to lift weights and be boys and be real, mannish. And that's what happens. At 35, what happens every year after 35, the growth hormone goes down. It goes down slowly but surely. How you can keep this up is by increasing your muscle mass by lifting weights, eating the proper foods, and staying healthy physically. That means exercising, again, lifting some form of weights, eating a good nutritious meals, and eating enough protein, and this will bring your growth hormone up. Also, like I said, I can't say enough about how as you get older by working out and lifting weights, it brings up your growth hormone, and you want to keep your growth hormone up to as high as possible if you're a man. Now, women's growth hormone comes down, but they still need some. They still need their growth hormone. Okay, it's never going to be as high as a man's, but they definitely need it as well. I just want to say that about growth hormone, and it's a very, very important. That's why with growth hormone, when you look at an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, he's strapping, he's muscled up and everything. But after 35, our growth hormone, it starts to decline. And that's when you see a man at age 40, he might have some belly. He might, he's getting, a saggy chin. His muscle tone is not what it was. And that's because his GH, growth hormone, is not what it was. And therefore, there's things you can do though. You can get growth hormone replacement, but I suggest you stay with the regular way to do it. And that's eating a proper diet, taking the sugar out your diet, also cutting out alcohol. That would definitely kill your growth hormone. And once you cut those things out and start doing some exercise, I always say lifting weights, because that's going to build up the testosterone and also what increases the growth hormone in your body. So there's ways that you can keep the growth hormone higher in men as we get older. But again, you see it in the natural progression. You can look at a 40-year-old man opposed to a 20-year-old man, and you can tell the difference. I remember when I was 20, I could go in the gym and lift weights all day long like it wasn't nothing. Now I'm a lot older than that, and it takes more work.
So I'm gonna actually go back for a quick second to kind of somewhat on Shirley's question. So this isn't necessarily referring to race, but there's a difference in general of EGFR and GFR. So the main difference between GFR and EGFR is that GFR describes the flow rate of the filtered fluid through kidneys, whereas EGFR rate is a number that estimates your GFR. Furthermore, GFR can be measured by plasma or urinary clearance, of an ideal filtration marker such as insulin, while EGFR can be calculated from a single blood test result such as serum creatinine.
Nope.
So, it's and I believe we had a discussion on that not too long ago, right, Mr. Cook, about
Oh,
the
yes, you did. Yep.
EGFR.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you remember how that conversation went? I don't want to misspeak. That's what I'm asking you.
Again, the estimated rate is the average, and that's what they talk about. That's an average of what it is and what it should be for your race and where you are right now. And depending on how your kidneys are working, depending on history and all these things, this number can fluctuate. Okay, your glomerular filtration rate, again, they might test it on different aspects. They might look at you like they might do a 24-hour urine specimen on you. They might see what your creatinine level is. They might look at because the reason why I'm saying this is the hospitals do it totally different all the time. They take these numbers and they average them out, and that's when you get your estimated glomerular filtration rate, and that's what Phil's talking about. So they take these things and they average it out, then they give you the number of what it is.
Do you remember what yours was before you had your second transplant?
So mine was what I think I believe it was 70 something when I was well, but when I wasn't, when I was on dialysis, it was nothing. It was down to like 2 because the
Yeah,
kidneys
mine's
weren't
at
working.
3.
Yours is at 3. That's what I'm saying.
Mine's
Yeah,
at
it was.
3.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's what
So
happens when the kidneys aren't working. Right.
that's what happens when you have none.
Well, that's basically none. Exactly when the kidneys aren't working. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I had some just sitting there doing something, but I don't. So, you know.
You will be shortly, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely, it's coming. I know it
Yeah.
is. Let's see. The next one is this is you, right?
Yeah. Can you make that bigger?
I can. Give me 1 second.
Okay. This is human growth hormone. Okay. Can you naturally increase growth HGH levels? I believe you can. Yes. Sleep and HGH, getting the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's when your body repairs. That when you're sleeping is the only time your growth hormone comes up, and it starts preparing the body. It starts if you have wounds, if you lifted weights the next day, the day before, it helps you recover. That's what this does. That's when you're sleeping is when the body shuts down and it regenerates and it starts replenishing all the things that you lost. Okay. The sleep is so important. All right. Like I said, sleep however much you need or how much you need to feel rested and replenished is essential for promoting good human growth hormone. That is so important because that's the way you recover, especially from a hard workout or a day at work or anything you was doing. That's going to help you recover. And that's why it's imperative that you get good sleep. You heard me say on the other one, exercise and HGH. Regular exercise is a way to naturally increase your HGH secretion for sure, but not all exercise is equally effective. And that's why I say you can do all the cardio kind of stuff you want, but that's not never going to increase your human growth hormone. You have to lift weights. And I'm not telling you be a junkie like me. I love going in there banging weights. That's what I do. But you're going to have to lift some weights because not all of it's equal. So if you get on the treadmill and you're just doing some stuff like that, that's not going to increase your growth hormone. That's not going to increase your HGH. You have to do something that's going to affect the physical part of your body. That means you're going to have to get breathless. That means working hard, running some sprints. That means you're going to have to start lifting some weights and you're going to have to put a strain on the body because when you put a strain on the body, you signal the body in the testes to go, hold on, we got to start building some growth hormone because this dude is making us work very, very hard. And that's when the growth hormone comes up in the body because you're working real hard. So the body is signaled that, hey, we gotta start building this growth hormone, which is going to build more muscle in the body because it's signaling that it needs more muscle because this guy is lifting weights. And that's how you get it up there. By doing cardio, you're not signaling anything. You're not signaling anything at all. And what that does is it'll get you, it'll make you lose a little bit of fat and stuff like that, but it will never bring up your growth hormone. And that's what we're talking about here. So there's certain kind of exercises that are going to bring up your growth hormone. For children, now children, they really don't have to worry about the growth hormone, but they want it to be stable. You want it to be any kid under 18 years old. Um, you pretty much don't have to worry about that too much. But for children, you want to be 10 to 50 nanograms per milliliter. For adult males, like I said, you want um, 0.4 to 10 nanograms. For adult females, 1 to 4. And that's really, really important. And again, like Bella just said right here, she says, but you're right, because I did a 5K marathon Sunday and slept like a log for 2 nights. Right, that's what I'm talking about. So when you're doing that exercise like that and you're working hard, your body has to recover. And that's why it's so important. Like when I do a hard lift, like if I squat, deadlift, I got to recover. And why? Your body has to replenish. She's so right about that. Go ahead, Phil.
So just to kind of add to the exercise part, this part of it is very important. It goes hand in hand. You're doing exercise, but you got to get to sleep.
Yeah.
If you don't get the sleep to restore your body, rejuvenate, get that rest in, like it says here, 7 to 9 hours. But it
Yeah.
also says, or however long you need to
Mm-hmm.
feel rested, right?
Yeah.
So if you know that you can, work on 5 or 6 hours, as long as you get that time, that's the most important part, right? Um, I, I
You and
say,
I, you and I both can contest to this. When we get that good sleep, man, you can sleep really good. And Shirley says, right here, her and Bella are both talking about the Prograf. When you're on Prograf, it's known for causing insomnia. Yeah, that's what she said, and I that is true. And I'm on Prograf also. I take 4 in the morning and 4 at night, and I take a lot of it. And the reason why I take so much is because of my I'm on my second transplant. So again, and it can cause insomnia. That's why it's imperative. That's why I like exercising and stuff, because it makes me a little bit tired, and it helps me go to sleep better. P. Williams, he just said one of my new goals in 22, more strength training to gain tone in my body. Exactly right, because the strength training puts a load on the body. It even makes the bones stronger when you're doing strength training. Why? Because you're putting a load on the bones also. So the bones have to stay strong and healthy. That's why I tell women and men, you definitely need to strength train in some form of fashion. I'm not telling you go out here and deadlift and squat like I do, but you definitely got to start lifting some weights so you keep that muscle tone up in your body. If not, you're going to be saggy, and we don't want that. Saggy is not good. And it also helps you with when you lift weights. It also helps you with your posture, because when you lift weights, your bones stay strong, you stay upright. If you look at older people, when they get old, they're all bent over right here, because that causes osteoporosis. Because when you don't put a load on the body has no reason to stay strong. That's why it's so important to start, doing some form of strength training. And when you see an older person that's not doing any strength training, their bodies start to form, their shoulders go in, and they're humped over, because osteoporosis sets in, because you're not giving the body a load. You're not giving anything to make the body stay strong. And that's why it's so important to stay strong, because you keep those bones strong also. The, you have to understand this. We're Homo sapiens. Our bodies are meant to work. We're not sedentary people. We're not supposed to be sitting around just not living a sedentary life, not doing anything. You definitely have to keep the body moving. And when the body is moving, the body is happy. And another thing about the body is, when the body is moving, fat can't stay on the body. So you want to keep that body moving, because what fat is inflammation. That causes nothing but inflammation in the body. Inflammation will tear down all your joints, tear all your body up. That's why you hear people talking about arthritis. But it goes back to, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Just like rust. Working out, exercising, and things like that will definitely, it's like sliding oil to your body. It's like lubricating the joints and everything. And that's why you have to do it. It's so important. A lot of times people don't, they don't like the after effects of exercise. Oh, I'm sore. Well, You better get used to it. And as you do it more and more, you won't be as sore. But you definitely got to do it to keep that body strong, especially for people who are transplant recipients or even on dialysis. I help a lot of people. I could write you out a program and everything. That's what I do. I used to own my own fitness studio when I was on dialysis. And that's what I do now. I coach patients, I coach people who need my advice to help them with their labs, help them give them the tools so they can get a transplant, and help them stay strong while they're waiting for a transplant. Yeah, chill. I got the author right. That's the arthritis. Yep, I got Arthur. She's right. Bella's so right about that. But those things can be prevented. I used to teach a class when I was the fitness director at the Y, AOA, Active Older Adults, and it was for people 65 and older. I had 80-year-old people in there exercising, staying strong. Yeah, I wasn't giving them crazy amounts of weight, but they were doing something for resistance, just doing a little bit of pulling, doing a little bit of pushing. I would direct them and show them the true way, keeping their form. I did it for 3 or 4 years. I never had anybody get hurt, and everybody stayed strong. And that's what you got to do. And I'll tell you right now, even if you're an older person, you still could build muscle. I'm not telling you go out here and be Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that, but you still could build muscle and have tone. And this will help you with your hips and help you with all your body movements and everything.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry.
I'm gonna just kind of add to what Tafar is saying, and he's not telling you go straight in the weight room and put on 300 and try to start lifting, but start where you feel comfortable at, right?
Right,
Whether it's
right.
walking, light weights in the bedroom,
Yep.
crunches, push-ups, whatever the case may be. The hardest thing to do, I say this all the time, is to start,
That's
because if you
it.
try to go in, 0 to 100 right now, the first thing you're gonna do is feel one, uncomfortable, and two, like you can't do it, and you'll
Right,
never do it. So
right,
you need to start somewhere and
right.
figure out, okay, where am I going from here? Start walking in the backyard or around the neighborhood, or
Mhm.
you know, uh, get you some house weights that you can do. And then when you get in the situation where you feel comfortable, like, okay, I can go to 24-hour fitness or Planet Fitness, and work out there. Then you make that next step. You don't have to go straight in there trying to run, 50 years on a treadmill, and you get laughed at because you probably didn't fell off and slid 3 feet backwards. You know, the hardest thing for you to do is start. If you don't start, you can't finish. If you don't start, you don't progress. So
That's right there.
start somewhere and work it out. You got to put a plan together. Like you said, the man will put a plan together for you to get you where you're trying to get to.
Right. And you know what? Get a doctor's recommendation. Go to your doctor first and make sure they say you can lift, exercise. And I guarantee he'll say, of course you can exercise. He'll be happy to hear that you want to exercise, and he'll be all for it for the most part. But always go get, a certification, not a certification, but your doctor's recommendation. Hey, doctor, is it okay if I start exercising? He'll probably be more than happy that you to say yes. Go ahead, Phil.
All right, next slide. Parathyroid hormone. PTH is made by four tiny parathyroid glands in your neck. These glands control calcium levels in your blood. The average PTH level for your parathyroid hormone ranges from 14 to 65. That's very important, because I actually I was dealing with a high parathyroid PTH level for a long time, and I kept remember here, my doctor kept saying, "We're gonna need to, put you in surgery to take them out," and I'm like, "Yeah, nah, that ain't working for me," because at the time I was singing in a gospel group, and if you know where your parathyroid glands are in your neck, give me 1 second, I'll show them to you. Um, they're right here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what they do is they remove them, and then they place part of it somewhere in your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mine is right here, in my arm, where they put part of it, right? And so uh the thing that you have to deal with when it comes to the removal of this, if it is too high, right? And before I even get to that, let me say this. If you get in a position where it's too high and you know there's nothing that you can do to bring it down, just have surgery. There's no reason to putting it off. It actually puts you in a better position when you get them taken out, when you're in that, when it's that high. I would have done it, a long time ago had I known this, right? Um, excuse me. So, um, the what I had to deal with after the fact, and is usually never an issue, is the low calcium, right? It is normally kind of back to normal within a week or so, week or two after taking the calcium pills consistently in the hospital. I dealt with low calcium technically for a year and a half. I had my procedure done in September of 2019. It didn't make a change to start going up until February or March of this year. So um, again, if you're in the position where your doctor says, "Hey, it's getting too high," just do it. There's no point of waiting it out. Just have it done, because what you don't want to do is, if you're in a position like me, right, where you're waiting on the transplant, waiting to get on the list, you don't want that to hinder you from getting put on the list, because it will. It will hold you back until it gets fixed.
Right.
And that's both ways, whether it's too high or after surgery and it's too low. So you want to make sure you're always in a good position to get put on the list, or if you're on the list, to stay there and be able to get a call and be able to receive whichever organ they want to give you. So the PTH is important to also look at. The calcium thing for me was a struggle, was a fight. But I'm glad I kind of out those woods now. So another one that you need to pay attention to is your PTH, because it deals with directly with your calcium. So always pay attention to that as well.
Let me ask you this, Phil. Did it have something to do with your phosphorus also?
Um, yeah, it did actually. And so we've talked about the phosphorus thing, and so it fluctuates, it goes up and it goes down. My calcium for the most part is pretty stable, in a good range where it needs to be. That's the only reason why they're still going forward with putting me on the list, is because my numbers are where they need to be. I do need to bring it down a little bit more, because I believe it was like at 5 or something like that.
Mhm.
So I do need to. I'm working on that. Trying to figure out foods that I can eat that aren't high in phosphorus, and try to stay, proactive in my health and things of that nature. So, but yeah, it does have a connection to your phosphorus as well. Especially the calcium pills that you may have to take also has a connection to what your phosphorus looks like.
Yeah, Bella said mine went completely back to normal within a few days. And mine had nothing to do with my phosphorus. Yeah, see, and that goes back to everybody's body's different. Like I
Right.
said, Phil's was affected his calcium. Her, I mean his phosphorus. I'm sorry, and Bella said my phosphorus was perfect. So again, this goes back to you learning what your labs are telling you, not just in. We're just giving you general information, and you have to look at your labs and talk to your doctor about your own specific labs, because some of these things people didn't even have to deal with, and then some of these things a lot of people have to deal with on certain other situations. So you're right about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, everybody is has a different story, and that's why it's important for you to be your own advocate and invested in your own health, because you have to know these things. Going forward, if you're somebody like us that deal with these things, we have to live this life, right? So this is
Right.
stuff that we need to know at all times.
Right, let
Uh,
me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. Does this have anything to do with Graves' disease? Are you familiar with Graves' disease?
no.
Okay. Graves' disease is another thing where I think sometimes people have to get their parathyroid gland removed because the Graves' disease. I just know that. I don't know exactly the situation, but I know people who've had Graves' disease, and it sometimes can make their eyes bulge and things like that with Graves' disease. And they also have to get their parathyroid gland removed because of Graves' disease. Okay, so I didn't know. Bella says I was apprehensive about having them removed. Also, Phil, but the calcium kept getting higher. Yes, and even though you can be taking, I've seen people's parathyroid gland, and they do everything they can, but that calcium just keeps on roaring, and it can happen. So sometimes you do have to have it removed and replaced somewhere else. And like Bella said, she had it done and Phil had it done as well. Let's move on to the next one. Hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin is really, really critical. This has a lot to do with your energy right here. In healthy people, the hemoglobin, which is your HbA1c level, is less than 6% of the total hemoglobin. A level of 6.5 signals that diabetes is present. Studies have demonstrated that the complications of diabetes can be delayed or prevented, and the HbA1c level can be kept below 7. That's a good one. I'm not too familiar with this other one, but I know hemoglobin, we want to keep it high because that has a lot to do with your energy. So you definitely want that hemoglobin up because it's going to give you energy. I remember doing dialysis when I was on it, and I would give myself EPO shots so my hemoglobin could stay up higher. And like I said, the kidneys have a lot to do with what your hemoglobin is doing also. Go ahead, Phil.
No, if you can't keep going, I actually want to find my own hemoglobin so people kind of see
Yeah,
the
and
difference.
the kidneys, like I said, have a lot to do with what your hemoglobin is rating and everything. And she said, this person's, it said the HbA1. This is your A1C level, and it signals, like I said, I think you want it in a range because it can cause diabetes. Let's see what she says. Farrell, you're right. Just to answer your question, Graves' disease is often associated with hyperchlamydia. Yeah, and I know that has something to do with your thyroid also. So, like I said, the Graves' disease, and the Graves' disease can react in different ways in different people. So sometimes Graves' disease makes somebody lose a lot of weight. Other times it can make people gain a lot of weight. And I've seen both situations in several people, and I've seen people, like I said, they have it in their eyes start bulging and things like that.
I was trying to
Oh, she said
put
not
my
chlamydia, but
body.
hypercalcemia. I'm sorry.
Oh, you said the wrong word.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't see it that good. Yeah, I apologize, fella. My fault. Yeah, not chlamydia. Chlamydia is a sex disease. Oh, like a sexual transmitted disease. Yeah, hypercalcemia.
Mm,
I can't even pronounce it now.
that's funny.
I'm sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Ooh, it's been a long day.
I'm glad
Apologize.
somebody noticed it instead of just letting
Right.
you
I
keep going.
thank gosh. That's too funny. Oh man. Anyway, I needed that laugh today. We can go to the next one, man.
All right.
Phosphorus. Go ahead, Phil.
All right. So normal phosphorus levels from patients who are on dialysis are 3.5 to 5.5. A phosphate test is usually recommended to check for the proper functioning of the parathyroid glands, bones, and functioning of the kidneys. The normal phosphorus levels in the blood for children are 4.5 to 6.5. So, back, let's kind of go back up to the top. So it says 3.5 to 5.5 for normal phosphorus for somebody on dialysis, right? Um, and y'all crazy. So that's important to pay attention to because, especially for us, because most of the people that at this point, of course, we wanted to get a wider audience in the future, but right now, probably most of them are dialysis patients or former dialysis patients, or could possibly have to
Or
worry
kidney
about.
disease, some form of
Right.
fashion like that. You're right.
So that's important to also pay attention to, as well as for parents that have kids.
Mhm.
It's not just you that you need to pay attention to numbers. And I'm glad this came up here. You need to pay attention to your kids' numbers as well.
Yeah.
Of course, when I was a kid, it wasn't as easy as it is now to look at numbers, right? So when I got sick, it was like, it just happened. It was just, oh, he's sick now and stuck in the hospital, and then 28 years later, here I am. So, but pay attention to those two sets of numbers, right? And also, if you need to, I wish I had the time to come up with, an actual normal level for somebody without kidney disease or that aren't on dialysis. Go find out what those numbers are, because you need to know if you're not dealing with dialysis at the moment, or don't even have to worry. I mean, you don't know what you have to worry about in the future, but it's good to know, what those levels are that you should be looking at. So pay attention to your phosphorus. You can, it's also something that you can control by what you eat. So if you talk to your dietitian, as I just talked to my dietitian not too long ago. She's sending me some things in the mail, list of foods that are high in potassium and high in phosphorus, low in potassium, low in phosphorus, so I can make sure that my numbers are where they need to be
Right.
when it comes to evaluation and things like that. So, it's almost that time. So I need to make sure I'm in the right position that I need to be in. So
Um, yeah, phosphorus is really, really critical, and the I've seen some devastating things. Over doing a decade of dialysis, 6.5 in on peritoneal, 5.5 on hemo. Phosphorus can do a lot of damage. I never forget one of the first weeks when I was on hemodialysis. One of the people came in there, one of the patients came in there, and their knees, they were walking down the steps and their knees cracked. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, oh, that's because her phosphorus was high. And this girl's phosphorus was high for
mm,
like almost like 8 months. And the devastation it can do to you is like that. Where you get, your bones become brittle, because when the phosphorus is high, it starts robbing calcium from the bones. And that's what it does. Okay. It also creates you to start itching a lot, and it makes your eyes bloodshot red. I remember when I had my own fitness studio and my phosphorus would get high, I start eating crazy and not watching what I was doing. And my skin would start itching, like calcifying. And I would lift weights and my joints would hurt. My joints would be killing me. And my eyes would be bloodshot red. And those were the first signs of me that I could tell that my phosphorus was high. I could lift weights and my joints would just be felt like an old man, like I was aching real, real bad. So that was my first sign. And I knew the signs of myself. And I trained myself to know these signs. And so that's when I was like, okay, get back on my nutrition, get back on my binders hardcore, all these things, and correct that, because phosphorus can cause irreversible damage. It can also stop your heart if the phosphorus gets too high. It can literally just stop your heart, because again, it robs calcium from the bones, and it can cause deformities in the bones as well. That's why it's critical to keep that phosphorus in check. Like he said, you want it to be under 5.5. Now, different hospitals and different dialysis centers, they they might say something different. You might have somebody say 6.5 or something like that. Now, I think when your kidneys are working good, you don't have to really worry about the high phosphorus, because you have two good kidneys, and you only have to worry about that when you're a person, that has challenges with your kidneys or have kidney disease. But again, if you do have kidney disease, you want to be really, really careful of this phosphorus getting high. because again, it can cause irreversible damage to the bones and things, and that's what you don't want.
Okay, I think it's one more. Yeah, it all fits.
Bella, I saw what she said. She's funny. Go ahead, man. Is this me or you?
Yeah, I think this is you.
Okay. For teenagers and young adults, it is normal to have calcium levels up into the mid to high tens. Okay. For adults over the age of 40, the calcium level should generally be in the 9.3 to 9.9 deciliter range. High calcium levels almost always indicate parathyroid disease. And so I'm going to tell you a story about me. And if you look at my documentary, you'll hear where the doctor said, his calcium was out of range. Now, what can calcium do? Calcium can stop your heart. It can cause death. It can cause immediate death when the calcium gets too high. So, therefore, that's why they were giving me things to bring the calcium down immediately. So you don't want this calcium getting out of control. And like it indicated, it's almost apparent that you're going to have parathyroid disease if this calcium keeps on elevating like that. And so, when it elevates, it can go up really, really, really fast. That's why it's really, really important that you watch this calcium. Okay. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, so this basically ties into last couple slides we just kind of talked about, and this is also one of the main reasons is connected to your story that you were just talking about. The lady's needle is the calcium, right? Brittle bone syndrome happens, and things like that. Low calcium can lead to your bones getting real brittle and break, real easily. So you want to make sure that those calcium levels stay where they need to be in order to keep your bones strong, because can't nobody else take you where you got to go but you. Can't nobody walk for you, or anything like that. It has to be done by you unless you feel like being in the wheelchair the rest of your life. So make sure that the calcium is well taken care of. Um, Also, when it comes to your foods are very important when it comes to calcium as well, because you don't want to have it too high, you don't want to have it too low. So you want to make sure that you're eating the right amount of it to make sure that it stays level. You don't want to just go all in crazy and then it's like, well, yeah, we need to bring this down some. Then it's harder to bring stuff down than it is to increase.
Right.
So I think that's the last one. Nope, this one.
Okay, that's yours.
Yeah. A normal potassium level is between 3.6 and 5.2 millimoles per liter. It's important to know that individual laboratories may use different values. So, with that said, make sure that you know where your lab value normal ranges are, so you know what you need to be looking for. Or, if you want to go by, not necessarily when I say your own range, but find one that's arranged, done, and kind of basically signed off by a physician. Then okay, that's different. But I'm not saying just go, you know what, yeah, I want my range to be 4.9 to 5.8 or nothing like that. I'm not saying that. But because they're all different doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. It's just to say that certain people have different ranges, what they want to see from their patients. So, uh, definitely make sure that you know what your doctors are looking at and looking for. It's important to know that okay, for that reason, you should ask your doctor to interpret your specific results. See, consult. Basically, what it's saying is consult with your physician. Uh, you know, Make sure that you always talk to them when you going over when you're looking at your labs. If you have any questions, always go to your physician and say, "Hey, I'm confused about XYZ, or why is this like this? Last month it was this, now it's this. Why did that happen? You know, the amount of potassium in your blood is so small that tiny increases or decreases can cause serious problems. That's why you need to make sure you pay attention to your labs." Because the reasons like that, like I said, the smaller going up or going down can cause problems for you. So if you catch these things ahead of time, it puts you in a better position. uh I don't want to necessarily say a comeback, but to make that change to put you in a better position health wise, then you have this small issue, and then you go, excuse me, 4 or 5 months down the line, and now it's too late, or this came up or that came up because you didn't take care of it when you first saw it. So pay attention to to those small, especially with potassium, small increases or decreases. Call your physician up or the physician's assistant and say, hey, this doesn't look right to me. We need, why is this happening? Question them. You can question your doctor. It's okay. They can't put you in jail or nothing. So, question if you need to. And so because what happens is when you do that, they now know that your own health is important to you. That when they see that, it makes them work harder to make sure you're healthy and make sure you're getting the right care and make sure that you continuously keep going with the attitude that you have. But when you just kind of go, hey, Dr. So, all right, thanks, appreciate it, bye, that's when they're just like, this person don't seem too interested in their health at all. So stay engaged into your own health is very important.
So true, man. I just want to touch on everything we talked about tonight. It's crazy is the the things, when you have a challenge with your kidneys, or if you have any challenges with any organs in your body, all these things that the body regulates on its own, that all of a sudden you have to start doing for yourself with medication and working with the doctors. All these things, you have to check your phosphorus, your calcium, your hemoglobin, all these things that the body does on its own, that you have to be responsible for. And it's amazing how many things there is. And you kind of got to be your own, like you said, you not kind of, but you have to be your best advocate. So, because you have to stay up on top of all these things, because if you don't, one critical element of these things, and bam, you're in the hospital. Bam, you're in trouble. Bam, you could be, on your deathbed. So we're just giving you the information to pay attention to all these levels and understand your labs, because they're so critical. It is such a blessing to have organs that work, like the majority of people, because they don't have to worry about these things. They can just keep on going with their life. And when your organ is not functioning well, all these things become, precedent that you have to start watching out for right now. And it is amazing. Like, I wouldn't even know how, to live without, watching these labs and stuff like that. I don't envy other people, but I'm so happy that they don't have to. They can just go on about their business and not worry about their liver, lungs, heart, kidney, pancreas, all these things, because they don't have a clue about what's going on. And hey, that's good, because those things are working perfect for them. But if you're in this situation, you better become your best advocate, and you have to know what's going on with yourself. And we're just here to give you some information about these things. And if this information helps, don't forget to like or subscribe. That's all you got to do. We're just trying to bring value to you people. So thank you for watching us tonight and everything. Go ahead, Phil.
Cool. Well, that is, as you can see, the end of our presentation today on how to read and manage your labs. There's a possibility we might have to do a part two, because I do know there's a whole lot more labs that come up that you got to read. So we might do a second part to it. But we appreciate everybody that watched. Um, you know, Definitely have a Merry Christmas this weekend. Enjoy your families. Make sure you tell them you love them. And we actually will not be here. Yeah, you can definitely reach out for additional information.
Yeah, you can also hit me at info kidney care coaches, and I'll info at kidneycarecoaches.com. and I'll be happy to talk to you. You can also go to my website, kidneycarecoaches.com, and subscribe, and I'll get back with you on any information that you need Williams, for sure.
So next week we were going to have Mark Harnell, the kidney fighter, will be on next Thursday, and that's something that is going to end 2021 for us on a high note. Very excited for that interview in that story. You are not going to want to miss this. I know some of you have probably already seen it because he has been on a number of other shows, but definitely come back on Thursday with us, and then to start off 2022, we will have Artavius Veazey that'll be on to start off 2022 for us here on a Second Chance. So we look forward to seeing you at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. We appreciate your support and your love. Please come back next Thursday. Have a great Christmas. Happy New Year's.
All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. And we appreciate you all. You guys have a Merry Christmas as well. Thank you.